Hello and welcome back. Today I will be showing you how to paint these fun and easy tulips following simple steps and techniques. Real-time extensive version of this painting with extra techniques and exercises is available on Skillshare. It is free for 1 month. Okay, so let's begin. Alright, so I started with lightly sketching my flower bouquet just for placement purposes. I'm drawing this super light to avoid pencil marks later. So I decided to go with 5 tulips, so I'm drawing out the stems of how I want the flowers to get arranged. There's no need to draw any more than this. Everything else will be painted directly. Here I'm adding a bow to tie this bouquet together. I started drawing out the leaf on this on the side here, but then I figured I would just do that once I've painted some of the flowers first. Alright, so once you have this placement ready, we will move on to the next step. So here I'm tinting the whole paper and background first to give my painting a very light sort of background wash. Keep it super light, but enough for you to notice once you peel off the tape. This will add to that delicate floral touch. Allow your background to dry completely before adding these flowers and moving on to this step. So using the same pink color but a bit more pigment this time, I'm using my round brush to create a C-like shape. Start with the tip of the brush and then drag the brush using its belly and lift it off again by its tip. To lighten up the front portion, I like using my paper towel by gently dabbing its corner to lift off paint. Do the same thing but in the opposite C-like shape now. Fill up the gap by adding one small stroke in the center. I like keeping a little wide gap every now and then to section off these shapes and just to add more interest. This also adds natural highlights to the flowers. Here I'm adding just some extra pink paint to the top of the flower by using only the tip of the brush, and do the same to the bottom as well. Okay, we will come back to these flowers constantly, but let's move on to the next flower. Okay, now that you have a general idea of how to paint a tulip, you can add your own flair and shake them up a little bit so that they all don't look exactly the same. For example, you can widen up either the left or the right petal or add an extra one to the side, like you'll see me do so in this one. So same thing here, I've made 2 different C-like shapes to form the body of the tulip. Just to make it slightly different, I'm giving this guy one more petal off to the side here. Keep your overall flowers light. Remember, it's always easy to build up on color than to take it off when it comes to watercolors, so just take it step by step. Once you get a hang of the shape of these flowers, you will naturally learn how to loosen up and add slightly different shapes to each flower to make them all unique. Here I'm just going back to each flower and adding some more pigment to the base of all of them. Blend them upwards into the flower if needed. Using a light green now, I'm adding a tiny bit of that to the base of each flower to deepen the dimension and just add more fullness. Using that same green, I'm adding that to the stems of the flowers. Giving it some warmth by adding a little yellow to certain sections of the stems. I'm now randomly adding some foliage and leaves around my flowers to fill up my bouquet. I'm using the same green at this point. I will add some dimension and color to it next. Okay, so it's time to give more depth to the leaves because as of now they look quite flat. So to give it more dimension, we need to add more color. So using a slightly darker green, I'm going over certain sections of the leaves. I'm adding some blue to my green now, so in particular phthalo blue to the green, which will give me a more deeper toned green. So I'm using that color to build dimension to certain areas as well. I wanted to set a base tone for the bow that I made so I could just visualize that part better. So I'm using brown here and I'm going over the drawing of the bow with a thinner brush now for some more control. Alright, so now it's time to spice it a tiny bit and add some finishing touches and details. These last few layers are so important and usually have the most impact in a painting at the end. I always say when it comes to painting, it's the smallest, tiniest details that speak volumes. So using that same thinner brush, I'm taking a darker green to add to the base of the stems to bring it out more and to add more dimension. Adding that same dark green color to the base of each flower as well to add that extra pop and to just push these flowers a bit more forward. Defining those stems a little bit at the edge too, so I'm just dragging that color down towards the stem of each tulip. Another important thing to remember is that watercolors do dry much lighter, so it may require you a few layers to be happy with the colors that you have. Here I'm just adding a few more leaves to fill up the empty gaps I have in this space. Finishing up these leaves with a final touch of warmth by adding some yellow to the tips of the leaves. Last and final layer to the flowers, I'm going back in and touching up the base and tip of each flower by adding a little more pigment to bring it out more. Like mentioned, if you do want a real-time extended version, I do have it over at Skillshare. The link is below. And this completes our simple watercolor tulips for today. And if you do try this out, don't forget to tag me over at Instagram or on my Facebook group. I love looking at your recreations. It always makes my day. I do appreciate all the love and support I get from each and every one of you from all my orders lately, so thank you. And to shop my arts, do visit my website. To keep up with latest news, do follow me on Instagram, where you can stay up to date with my new launches. Thank you once again, and happy painting!